When you think of the UK, you can't help but think of Her Majesty the Queen, because the 96-year-old royal is so closely linked to the island nation. On Thursday afternoon, September 8th, Buckingham Palace announced on the Royal UK website that the Queen had died. With the death of Britain's longest ruling monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, the throne has been passed to her oldest son, Prince Charles, who will now be called King Charles III. So, what kind of king will he be? After Queen Elizabeth II died, the crown went to her son, Prince Charles. The former Prince of Wales is now King Charles III. In a statement released on September 8, 2022, the new king said, "During this period of mourning and change, my family and I will be comforted and sustained by our knowledge of the respect and deep affection in which the Queen was so widely held." Charles, who is 73 years old, has spent his entire life getting ready to wear the crown. This is different from his mother, who became queen when her father, King George VI, died suddenly when she was only 25 years old. Here are some other things you may not have known about Charles. He was the heir apparent who waited the longest and was the oldest person to ever take the throne in Britain. Queen Elizabeth II reached the age of 96 years during her reign. Although she had the longest reign of all of the British monarchs, she was not the only member of the royal family to reach that age. Even though her father passed away when she was still young, members of the royal family typically live very long lives. Her own mother lived to be 101 years old. After the death of the Queen, Charles was formally elevated to the position of king. At a meeting to be held at St. James's Palace in London, an accession council comprised of the sovereign advisors, also known as the Privy Council, will acknowledge the change and declare Charles to be the new monarch. After that, the King of Scotland will make a solemn oath to defend the Church of Scotland, which is an intriguing move. This is because the sovereign is only the head of the Church of England, not the Presbyterian Church of Scotland. There will be a reconvening of Parliament in order for its members to give their loyalty oath at the time. It is interesting that Elizabeth chose the name Charles for her son because the first two Charles were kings during the English Civil War in the 1700s. This was when Elizabeth's son was born. In all of British history, this was the only time that the monarchy was ever removed from power. Charles I was murdered, but his son Charles II was reinstated to the throne and went on to win widespread support. Elizabeth did not change her name after becoming queen, which is unusual for a British monarch because the majority of kings and queens in British history have changed their names after ascending to the throne. Queen Victoria's name before she became queen was Alexandrian. It would appear that Charles took after his mother, who passed away. Although Charles has the option to use one of his middle names as his royal name, he chose to follow in his mother's footsteps and keep Charles as his given name instead. The fact that he has been known to the public as Prince Charles for more than 70 years certainly doesn't hurt his chances. Charles may have kept his first name, but now that he is king, he may change other parts of his title. His mother's full name was Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, head of the Commonwealth, defender of the faith, for the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and her other realms and territories. That's a lot to say, but Charles has a problem with one part of it, a small word to be exact. Charles has taken strong interest in interfaith dialogue, and there has been speculation that he would prefer the title of Defender of Faiths or Faith rather than Defender of the Faith. The head of state is now King Charles III, but the country is still a constitutional monarchy. That means that only the elected parliament has the power to make and pass laws. Since King John's time in power, when the Magna Carta was signed in 1215, the monarchy in the UK has been limited by the law. Before a bill can become law, the monarch has to give it royal assent, but these days, this is more of a formality and a custom than a process in which the monarch has any real say. For the system to stay in place, the king must be uncontroversial and stay out of politics. History shows us what happens when a king or a queen tries to be too powerful. For example, the tension between the crown and its subjects was clear when King Charles I went into Parliament in 1642 to arrest parliamentarians for treason. After the Revolution, the UK was a republic for a short time. King Charles II brought back the crown in 1660. But the 1689 Bill of Rights and the 1611 Case of Proclamation, which says that a king can't make laws without Parliament's approval, forced the crown to accept the will of the democratically elected Parliament of the day. In actuality, the new king is well aware that he must now effect some kind of change in the kingdom When he was still a prince, he was exempt from some of the constitution requirements that now apply to him in his role as king. The king has made it abundantly clear that he is aware of the fact that he must alter the way in which he conducts himself in relation to politics. During an interview on his 70th birthday in 2018, he said, "I'm not that stupid. I do realize it is a separate exercise being sovereign, so of course I understand entirely how that should operate. The idea somehow that I'm going to go on exactly the same way if I have to succeed is complete nonsense. But the two situations are completely different. For the monarchy to stay in place, it must keep following the rules of the Constitution. It's the beginning of a new time, but the rules from Queen Elizabeth II's reign will still be in place. People think that the king wants a smaller official royal family, and role changes are likely to happen soon to fit with 21st century ideas about how much the public should pay to keep the royals alive. We might expect Charles to be more aware of changes in society in the Commonwealth realms. As Prince of Wales, he talked about how the legacy of slavery needed to be dealt with at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting at BLACKEYE. He said, "I cannot describe the depths of my personal sorrow at the suffering of so many, as I continue to deepen my own understanding of slavery's enduring impact." During his visit to Jamaica, Prince William stated that the horrible crime of slavery stains our history. He also stated that each Commonwealth state had the right to choose its own path, even if it meant severing ties with the royal family if that was what the state wanted to do. Both of these statements were made while the prince was in Jamaica. This will be remembered now, as the passing of the Queen is likely to bring up the question of whether or not some locations want to continue working with the royal family. Even though most states will lead the Commonwealth in the future, these moves suggest that there will be additional attempts to modernize, reflect a change in generations, and make the monarchy look more modern and in touch, in order to ensure that it will still be relevant and alive in the long run. The most difficult thing for the new king to do will be to keep things the same. Many people in Britain and the Commonwealth have never known a time when Queen Elizabeth II was not in charge. Many people saw her as the glue that held the UK together. Because she was so well liked, even the Scottish National Party agreed that if Scotland became independent, the Queen would still have to be the head of state. Now, it's up to the king to keep being that thing that brings the people together. Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth had been in charge of the UK for 70 years. During that time, the country has grown used to her being the one to speak for the country in times of joy and sadness. In place of the Queen's constant and reassuring presence at the center of a national life, the king will have to find a way to connect with the national mind. Okay guys, that's pretty much it for this video. If you liked the video, please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you again in the next one.